On March 17th, Brooklyn Post carrier Glenn Grays was arrested after a strange altercation with plainclothes members of the NYPD after he got into it with them when he alleged that they were driving recklessly. Video of Grays' confrontation has exposed another disconcerting incident of police tension that evokes a few other recent troubling events. I want to show you that video right now. So, as what happened leading up to that, Grays says that he was delivering mail in Brooklyn when an unmarked police car nearly hit his postal truck. He then shouted at the drivers, and then he stopped the car to get out, deliver some packages. He stops his car, gets out, and then the cops stop right in front of him, and they follow him. And then they demanded identification from him. So that then escalated pretty quickly with these four guys who, are in plain clothes, then demanding that he identifies himself. And he says, like, my ID's there on the car, my postal ID, and you can see it. And that wasn't really enough for them, and they escalated it. You could see people all kind of like congregated around when they saw there was tension. They saw a black man that was being harassed by some police officers, and you can hear in that video, like they're yelling him, like they're yelling, "Stop resisting! I'm gonna break your fucking arm!" All kinds of stuff. They're going pretty far across the line. He's just saying, "I'm not resisting you." The people around them are all getting hyped up. They're saying, you got a lawsuit. They're calling the cops gay. It all gets really weird. And then, sure enough, they bring him into the station. They arrest him. They charged him then with what? With disorderly conduct. But they also left the post vehicle right there, full of packages. So
anyone could have come up and taken stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It just shows that if for a lot of African Americans, even if you're at work, you're doing nothing wrong, you could still be targeted, by the police officers, which is sad in itself. But during that, the incident when they were both in their cars, though, was he doing anything wrong, like illegal, as far as why they had to like cut in front of them or anything, or was it just bad driving on the NYPD part?
Well, that's the main issue of contention here too, is because according to Grays, they basically cut him off. And he was yelling something about having right of way. So when he yelled at the cops that he had right of way there, they said to him, according to Grays, they said, "I have the right of way because I'm law enforcement." So this is pretty trippy right here. We just saw a case a week ago that dated back to 2013. There was a teacher who was killed in Brooklyn, a pedestrian named Felix Cross. So he's crossing the street, and the police wagon, we see right there in this image, this police van then makes a left, and it ran right over the teacher who had the right of way. Now then subsequently what's gone on is that the NYPD, in the lawsuit that has ensued over this accidental killing, the NYPD have asserted that the pedestrian basically took a risk. He assumed risk by walking on the street, which is a pretty horrendous way of blaming the victim here, especially when it's coming from the police, the people who are there to protect the public.
Right. And the exact same thing is happening in this case here. And what's sad? I mean, a lot of the time, we see this all the time with these police videos. They'll be like, "Stop resisting, stop resisting." Like, "I'm not resisting." And they're like, "Don't reach for my gun." Those are things that even on camera, it's hard to tell in a struggle whether they're doing or not. So to make themselves always on the defense side, the police will always shout those two things out. Stop resisting and don't touch my fucking gun, right?
Yeah.
Even though they might have their hands in the air or if they're on top of him, it's hard to know. So in court, they can be like, "Well, Your Honor, he was going for my gun, he was struggling, he wouldn't do it." But it's like, you can't tell when you're sitting on top of someone who's pushing and who's pulling, right?
Yeah, and then you've got, a half dozen people, around the scene, like taking cell phone video. So it makes it further, it makes that really blurry by the time that it gets to court. Yeah. Then you have like grounds for plausible, acquittal or whatever, or removal of, culpability on the part of the NYPD.
Which will almost always be the case anyway.
Almost always going to be the case. So there's a lot of, there's tension in the wake of Eric Garner in New York. there's tension about this. The Brooklyn Borough President, Eric L. Adams, he held a press conference with Glenn Grays, kind of to get in front of this political shitstorm before it really got out of hand. And he basically took the side of Grays, which is the position that almost everyone is going to take. So pretty politically savvy from Borough President Adams to get on the side of Glenn Grays, and then they're also asking for an additional investigation to be done of the NYPD, specifically of the fact that they're the ones who broke the law here, because by demanding that Glenn Grays go to jail and leave his postal vehicle unattended, they then compromise the security of all the post that was on there, and that's a federal offense. So now the NYPD might have some new laws that they have to defend themselves for.